All right, so for those of you, anybody don't know who we are, I think this is a great crowd because we know everybody here. My name is Jeff Donatello, and this is my wife, Kathleen. People call her Kat. I call her Kath. She's the reason you're all here because I talk about her a lot in my talks, and she has thyroid disease, like a lot of you do here. And through learning how to cook properly, she's changed her life, and she's changed the life of our family, the way we eat. And it's one of the misconceptions is that it's hard to cook gluten-free, and it doesn't need to be hard. It takes a little bit of ingenuity, and if you're a cook, you do a lot better than if you're not a cook. But I think a lot of people want to learn how to cook, and this is going to help you. All right, she went through and did how many? 15, 16 recipes. They're all in there.
They're all easy.
They're easy.
Really easy.
Easy, yeah. If you're a cook. No, she's going to talk about each one tonight. But what I want to do is I want to go through and just make sure that we're on the same page. I want to spend about 5 minutes here because a lot of you are in different places. Okay, this is not just about gluten. That's one of the misconceptions we have in our country right now. We've been going gluten-free now for a long time, but now it's starting to catch on as like the cool thing to do. Gluten is just one food that people are reactive to. It's a major food that people have problems with. It's found in wheat, barley, rye, spelt. It's actually the gliadin, the protein portion of it. So without getting too deep into it, if you have problems with gluten, which most people do in our office, like almost everybody, you're going to have other problems with other foods. And that's when we do the Cyrex testing to see what other foods you have problems with. So they're called cross-reactive foods. Things like potato or rice or corn or coffee, right? The dreaded coffee. Chocolate, things like that can be reactive to a lot of people. And when I say reactive, we're talking about your immune system looks at the proteins in that food as a foreign invader. It looks at it like it's a germ, and it forms an immune reaction. You're not allergic to the food. Right? That means you fire off immunoglobulin E reaction, like if you have a peanut allergy and things swell up. It's less than that. It's a different immune reaction. It's usually immunoglobulin G and a lot of other stuff that you're firing off in relationship to that food. Okay? So what our goal is here is to get you eating well for about 3 months, and after that, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, we start reintroducing foods. Gluten is going to be like the last one. A lot of times we won't reintroduce it, but what happens is if you're not used to eating gluten and you're reactive to it, as soon as you eat it, what happens?
Really sick.
Yeah, you get sick.
Within like 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, and there's been people in this room that have went and that cheated, right? Which is really good. I think you should try and see what happens. And a lot of people do get sick very quickly, especially if you have thyroid disease. If you aren't used to eating it and you eat it again, it's like, bam, wow, stay away from that. Okay? So what we got to do here is get the gut healthy. Down the road, maybe you can eat some of these foods, and you'll be able to eat this way. But what these recipes are gluten-free recipes. There's going to be dairy, things like that you're going to have to make sure that you understand is in there and keep them out initially. All right? Sound good? This is the gluten-free nirvana. All right? There's a lot of places like this. I think, Noelle, you have a place that you know that's like this. They're starting to pop up. And these are stores that, this is a nightmare. I don't tell people about this place until you're ready to know about this place. Because what happens is, you'll think that, okay, people confuse this. They're like, all right, I can eat those foods because they're gluten-free. Well, the problem is, when you get access to a place like this, you then will, things like this, gluten-free pumpkin whoopie pies, all right? Awesome, if you get your gut to heal. Now look what's in this. There's brown rice flour. Some of you are reactive to rice, all right? There's potato flour. A lot of you are reactive to potato. There's tapioca flour in there. There's cornstarch. A lot of people have problems with corn. There's eggs in there. And there's trace amounts of soy. So this is like an advanced food that you'd want to reintroduce down the road. And I'm not saying you can't eat this food, but it's something that's like 6 months in. Okay? So this is why we were very careful not to introduce those foods. Some people in this room have started to eat these foods, and they're doing very well with these foods. But you got to be very careful. Okay? So just be aware that these recipes are not 100% safe for you. All right, that being said, if you want to go ahead and talk about what's in your pantry, go for it.
So, gluten-free. It's fun, and you have to be, use your mind and be creative and be willing to try something different. Sometimes it'll end up in the garbage, more often than not, it will end up in the garbage. But once you find something that works and works well and your family likes it, then no one's going to even know that it's gluten-free. We just hosted a brunch for 38 people at my house this past Sunday. Everyone ate gluten-free, from chocolate chip cookies to cupcakes to quiche, French toast, and no one knew. So once you're doing it and once you get those staple recipes down, it's easy and you'll have fun doing it. But there are some staples that you need to have in your pantry. And these are your go-to things. And my favorite one, and I use it all the time in like everything, is diced tomatoes. They're like 89 cents. You can get them in all different kinds of flavors, and you can do almost anything with a can of diced tomatoes. Last night was a perfect example. Running really late, my daughter had horseback riding, got home at like 6:30, didn't even think about making dinner. I threw peeled a couple sweet potatoes, put them in some boiling water, took a couple pieces of boneless chicken breasts, pan-seared them, threw a can of that tomatoes on it, some cheese, stuck it in the oven. It's like having chicken parmesan. It's not deep fried, but it tastes wonderful.
If you want to take notes, I have to interrupt you on this. If you want to write on the back of those sheets, that's why they're there. So if anyone need a pen, that's what, flip it over, right on the back if you want, or if you take notes. You want a pen? Yep. You got a pen? Sure. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. So that's a key ingredient to having in your pantry. Other things to have in your pantry: rices, if you can eat rices. Have different kinds of rices. Have brown rices, white rices. Jasmine rice gives a little different flavor. Be willing to experiment with rice. Rice is something that's hard to make. It definitely is something you have to practice with, and the different rices will take different amounts of time to cook. But rices are great things to have as a staple.
Most people don't have problems with rice, just so you know. Most don't. It's rare. Some of you do, but most don't.
And when I make rice, I make a ton of rice. Okay, so we'll have maybe rice with dinner, but then I'll make enough rice that I can make a dessert with rice the following night. It's a go-to dessert. Everybody loves it. Kids love it. Something my mom used to give me when I was a kid and was sick. We call it rice and raisins. You make white rice. You heat up almond milk or regular milk, cinnamon, nutmeg, a little bit of sugar, throw in some raisins. It's like rice pudding. It's really yummy. So I'll make enough rice to do things like that with. I also make enough rice so if I'm going to make soup somewhere in the week, I have the rice to throw right into the soup. Just gives more body to the food that you're making. All different kinds of vegetables. I have cans of mushrooms. I have cans of chickpeas, black beans. Be creative. Be willing to try something different. But make sure it's just the staple vegetable. So you don't want to buy refried beans. It's a bad, bad thing. Refried beans most of the time will have gluten in it. You want to just get mushrooms in water. So you just want to make sure that it's in water and that there's no other product in it. So read the label when you're looking at those things. Tuna fish. Have lots of tuna fish. Tuna fish is a great product. Make sure it's in water and make sure you get the white tuna fish. I'll let Jeff talk about it, but the old saying was you shouldn't eat a lot of tuna fish because of mercury. That's not true anymore.
It's debatable. People watching this tape, some may say that, yeah, it's a problem. There's one of the things that we've prescribed to here is that they've looked at samples of fish from the 1800s. They have core samples that are still around, and there's been, I think, 3 or 4 different situations where they've been able to discover that these core samples from these fish their mercury levels way back 100 years ago weren't any higher than they are now, and in some cases they were higher back then. So depending on who you talk to, I think there's a lot worse things in this world. So fish is, I think, pretty good. So that's where we're coming from with that. Okay.
Something else to have in your pantry is polenta. I'm Italian, so of course this is going to be a staple in mine. But polenta can be used for a lot of different things. You can use polenta in place of breadcrumbs where you've previously used them, maybe in breading a pork chop or breading chicken breast. Or if you did want to make chicken parmesan and make it a little bit more crispy on the outside, you could coat it with polenta. Polenta is also a really good side dish. Yes.
What is polenta?
Polenta is corn.
Corn.
Yeah, it's cornmeal. I'm going to leave this out so you can take a look at it, but I have a really nice recipe in here with polenta. It also presents very, very pretty. You can also purchase polenta, and this is another thing that I always have these in my pantry. It's polenta that's already done for you. It's not in the refrigerator section. It's just in the regular section of the grocery store. Most grocery stores carry this. We also have a recipe in here tonight that we'll talk about with this type of polenta. So it's already hardened, so it's already done all the cooking. But when you're making a fresh dish, when you make it fresh, it's really creamy. Polenta's a really good thing. Also, if you're not feeling good, polenta's also absolutely delicious. It's very simple and very mellow. The other things that we like to keep in our pantry are Pamela's products. She makes a whole line of gluten-free products. Pretty much every grocery store is carrying Pamela's products. She has a pancake mix, pie crust mix. Obviously, anytime you can make it yourself, it's going to be much better, but these are quick and easy things to go to. I like to go with the 90-10 rule, 90% real food, 10% make it easy. So something like a Pamela's products is a really easy product to use. We also always have different kinds of nuts in our pantry. I use nuts a lot like I would use breadcrumbs. So I will grind my walnuts down completely, grind my almonds down completely, and use those as coatings on different meats and even on different fishes. It gives food different flavor. It gives you an opportunity to experiment. Some of the best dishes in restaurants are like macadamia nut chicken. You can make that at home, and it's not hard. Another way to make these products taste really good is experimenting with different kinds of oils. So there's almond oils out there, grapeseed oils. These oils will give your foods a different flavor. With a little bit of salt and pepper, using a macadamia nut and then an almond oil and then putting that on a fish. I mean, you're talking about a really delicious meal that you would pay a lot of money for in a restaurant. Okay, and then in your freezer, always have a big bag of frozen shrimp. It's so easy to grab a handful of shrimp, get them frozen shrimp, put them in some ice cold water, prepare some gluten-free pasta, chop up some fresh vegetables, olive oil, good to go. You got a pretty meal.
Shrimp is one of our favorite foods. I think shrimp is one of those foods that's just a go-to protein source that tastes good. Yeah. Most people like it.
And if you can get to the Winters Farmers Markets, I know that the Wentworth Gardens over in Rollingsford has one on Saturdays. You can check their website because they do rotate. One's in Exeter and then it'll go back to Rollingsford. They always have shrimp at those Winter Farmers Market. Like, what were they?
Big, like 10
10-pound bags for like $15. And they're excellent. They're the little small Maine peel and eat shrimp, but again, great to throw in with a gluten-free pasta or mix with rice and different vegetables. And then sausages. There's a lot of really good gluten-free sausages out there right now. The one that I tend to prefer is al fresco. Every grocery store has them. They're all gluten-free. They're certified gluten-free. So you want to make sure when you are getting a product that it says certified gluten-free. Just because it says gluten-free doesn't mean that it's going to be certified. So if you are really, really reactive, like a celiac type of reactive, and it's not certified, you get really sick. So a lot of times if you're in a, not in a restaurant, but like in a bakery, and they say, oh, we do gluten-free cookies, you might want to be careful on that, especially if you're trying to be really cautious.
What was that? I was jotting up the notes.
Al fresco. I'll pass it.
Oh, okay.
There is a gluten-free bakery in Portland.
In Portland.
Do you know the name of it?
BAM. I think it's BAM.
BAM?
Yeah, I think it's BAM. It's only gluten-free.
Really?
That's
The
all
one
they
that
do.
we've marked one in here for you guys, the one Jeff had up on the, and they'll ship everything to you also. They ship it all in dry ice for you. I've got my pie crust from them, breads, cookies,
I
everything.
do want to mention, as an aside, the restaurant that we tell people to go to in this area is the Roost Cafe on Route 1 in Agunquit. That's the place for gluten in Cape Nettic because they use their own flours that are gluten-free. That's the place to go if you really want to go. It's called the Roost Cafe.
And where's that?
It's in Cape Nettic, just north of York, on Route 1.
Ming restaurant on the left going
It's
north.
on the left
It's
side
on the
going
left, it
north.
looks like it has a chicken in front of it.
When we went to have gluten-free bread or rolls with the meal, we were told to call ahead the day before to see if they're going to have gluten.
Okay, she
Before
said,
the day
just for the
before.
camera, she said call ahead, just to make sure. We've never had that experience.
Oh, good.
It's always there,
Okay.
so.
But we always do make a reservation, and they know us, and they know we're gluten-free. So if you are going, make a reservation, just let them know you're gluten-free, so they can help you
Well,
out.
and also, if you want to have a real person breakfast, like pancakes and things like that, that's where it's really good. So just let you know, okay?
Okay, so I think we can go to.
This is not our pantry, by the way.
I was gonna ask.
It's not, right? Looks nice. We'd like to have a pantry
I know.
like that.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, right?
So Bob's Red Mill, great gluten-free products. They're certified. Stonewall Kitchen is now carrying a ton of certified gluten-free products. I have a whoopie pie mix. But again, like I said, 90-10. This is the holiday time, so having like pumpkin whoopie or chocolate whoopie pies with candy canes on the outside, yum. Cocoa brownies, yum. But those are things that just, it's nice to be able to have a treat. But again, 90-10, real food over processed food. And even though it's gluten-free, it's still processed. Another good thing to remember when it's gluten-free and it's processed, doesn't mean you're going to lose weight. So if you're also doing gluten-free to lose weight, and I did lose a lot of weight. I lost about 18 pounds. But at that time, there weren't any products out there. So I was just doing 100% real food because there wasn't anything. So that's another thing. They're thinking, oh, I can have pizza and I can have sandwiches and this and that. It's still got the calorie content in there and the carbs are still really high. So just be aware of that. Okay, so every chef should have a cast iron skillet. I don't care if you get your cast iron skillet at Walmart or you get your cast iron skillet at the fancy store and you spend $200 for it. It's cast iron. It doesn't matter. It's heavy. What you have to do is you have to cure, I think that's the right word. Season your cast iron skillet. So you never wash it with soap. You wash it with hot water and clean it that way and let the oils get into it. So the more types of things you can cook in it with olive oil and stuff like that, the better the seasoning and flavor that that pan will provide you. It also is nice to have the cast iron skillet because a lot of times I'll start something on the stove top and then just transfer it right into the oven. So it's just one pan that poor Mia has to wash when she's done.
Do you put tomatoes in it?
I put everything in
You
it.
do.
I put everything in it. Almost anything that calls for a dish in the recipes, I use my cast iron skillet. So I've got a variety of different sizes now.
Ready for the food?
Okay, food.
Now the thing is, when she goes through these, there's a lot of recipes in here. She can't go, we'll be here for 5 hours if she goes through everything. So she's going to briefly go through each thing. You have a color version. This is a limited edition color version. We're not making colored versions, but we made it for you guys. So it's all right there. So later on, if you have any questions about this stuff, just ask me and I can ask her. I mean, I don't know. I eat this food. I don't cook it. So she'll go through it fairly quickly.
Yeah, I just want to talk about some of the ingredients that I use in some of these. Kale is awesome. I mean, if you can use kale every day, use kale every day. Whether you use it in a salad or you use it in a soup or you use it as a roasted vegetable, kale is extremely good for you. Jeff's on a new kick where we're supposed to have kale like 2-3 times a day. So it's good and it's tasty. It's very tasty. And it can give foods a really nice flavor. Kale soup, kale and chicken soup, again, this is stuff that we make probably once or twice a week, but it's usually because I have leftover stuff. So I'll have a chicken roaster, and whatever's left over from the chicken gets picked off and put in the soup. Real easy. You can get it ready the night before, let everything simmer for a couple hours, stick it in the fridge. Everybody's got lunch the next day. Have it with a nice like a grilled cheese sandwich or something like that.
I always say never cook for one. Even if you're a single person, if you live at home, don't do that. Put it in Tupperware, freeze it, use it later. If you're going to spend the time to cook this stuff, you want to have a couple meals. Okay? So what do we got here?
You can have a
We
finished
got a
version.
slow computer.
Finished
version? Okay.
So just lots of vegetables, and just, it's soup. Just put whatever you have in the house. If you see it's going, put it in your soup, because it's good. It will taste good. This is a real favorite in our house, Italian fish stew. Again, Italian, so fish. Buying fish is kind of fun, because you can get, again, with a stew like this, you can experiment with different kinds of fish, different scallops, different times of the year, what they've got fresh in the fish market. Ask what do they call the fishmonger? Ask them what tastes good right now. Ask them what's in season, and try to buy local. Buying from Shaw's is always, it's going to always be cheaper. But if you can get it local and you know that actually was brought in today, even though it says fresh at Shaw's, it's going to be a lot fresher at the seafood market right in downtown Portsmouth. Okay, this is the recipe that you would use these for. Okay, so when you take this out of the package, it's a hard tube of polenta. And you just slice them up you're gonna use your cast iron skillet. You're gonna pan sear each side. You'll get about 14 slices out of something like this. And then we just layer them with different vegetables that we have. So in this particular case, I did tomatoes and avocado, and then I used a mozzarella cheese, stuck it in the oven, and that is an appetizer. You could also add a little bit of tomato sauce, put a little more mozzarella cheese on them, maybe have a side of grilled chicken, and there you have a side dish.
How long does that, like, if you opened that package up and
Did half of it.
did half of it, how long would the other half last after?
I bet you could have it for a few days. I'm sure it says here on here, but I don't have any reading glasses today. I'd say I would want to use it in at least, 2 or 3 days. Refrigerate it. So once it's open, I refrigerate it. It's sitting in a water too, so there's like a little bit of liquid in here. When you open it, it kind of explodes. So if I could save some of that liquid and then put it in another baggie, and then I would want to use it up right away. But this is yummy. This is really, really good.
It's making you all hungry.
Yes.
You're starving sitting here.
Okay, so this dish was one of those ones where we had gone to a party and they sent me home with like all the lobster bodies. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? And I just started pulling all the lobster meat out. It was summertime. I took some corn off the cob, mixed in broccoli rabi, broccolini, which is a great vegetable. It looks like a broccoli not on steroids. It's like skinny with little tiny florets at the top. It's another really good vegetable. When you cook something like broccolini, a great way to do it is 2 or 3 minutes of boiling water, then immediately throw it into ice water. That'll keep it nice and al dente, not too mushy. It won't get mushy. It'll keep it a little bit crisper, and that makes it nice when then you transfer it into a dish like this, and then you're mixing it and tossing it with olive oil and reheating it, so it won't get into like mush, like our grandmothers used to serve us. I love tarragon too, so I throw tarragon like in anything. If I'm making chicken salad, tarragon, it gives it a great flavor. A trick for gluten-free pasta. I'm going backwards for a second, back to the lobster, veggies, and pasta. When you're cooking gluten-free pasta, it is trial and error until you find one that you really like. Some of them are delicious, some of them not so much. When you cook them, they will get mushy if you overcook them. So I try, if it says 12 to 14 minutes, I'm checking it at 10, I'm checking it at 11. The minute it's done, I also rinse it under cold water immediately if I'm not going to use it right away. And then I might toss it with a little olive oil so it doesn't all get stuck together. You have to stir these pastas in the water when they're cooking because they will clump.
See, I think, just one second, 3 grains, that's the name of it, right?
The one yeah.
3 grains?
Yeah.
3 grains is, in my opinion, it's an Italian gluten-free pasta. It's way better than anything. We haven't found anything as good as that. If you cook 3 grains correctly, you won't notice a difference. It's one of the few. I mean, you can buy them on Amazon.com, buy them like in bulk. If not, if you buy them like, I made a mistake of buying them directly from Italy. I paid $36 for 3 little things. And then I found them on Amazon cheap. So, you were going to say?
I substitute spaghetti with spaghetti squash.
Yep.
Yep.
Instead of pasta, I use
And that's-
spaghetti squash.
Yeah.
Spaghetti squash is amazing. It
Yeah,
really is.
You
Can't tell.
Not really.
It's much more nutritious, too.
Yeah,
I think.
it's
And it
easy
has
to cook.
great body.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something.
Yeah.
If you're making a chowder.
Yeah.
And you wanna substitute potatoes,
Mm-hmm.
you can put cauliflower.
Yeah.
That is a great, and you can smash cauliflower and make smashed cauliflower and substitute that for mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Only one of my kids has figured that one out.
Yeah. And also cauliflower is good if you glaze it with olive oil and bake it in the oven for half an hour.
That does sound
You
good.
know what it comes down to is every one of these, every one of these recipes is actually like 10 in 1 because you can substitute, you can play with it. I always ask her, how'd you figure that out? Well, she goes into the cooking not knowing what's going to come out the other end. So just be not aggressive, but just do
Creative,
Just do what you want.
And if it doesn't taste good,
Especially with the proteins. If you see a shrimp or a lobster or whatever in here, you can mix it with chicken or whatever you want. So, anyways.
like George was saying, this is spaghetti squash. Has everyone cooked spaghetti squash before? So everybody knows how to do it. You know how to do it.
I know.
Okay, so spaghetti squash is it's kind of like this, in long. So you're gonna slice them down the middle, and then you're gonna scoop out the guts, all the pumpkins or the seeds, all the
Scoop out
squash.
the what?
Out the guts.
Guts.
Out the guts. Then you are going to take a cookie sheet with a lip. So you need the cookie sheet that has the lip around the side. You're going to put the spaghetti squashes in gut side down, meat side down.
Meat side.
Meat side down. So the skin is on the outside, and then you're going to put about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of water in the pan. And then you're going to stick it in the oven at, what did I say? What do you do, like 350, 375?
You can do it that way.
Yeah, you do this, you do
You
yours
can also
different?
do it the other way.
How do you do yours?
I cut
Well,
it
can
in
you
half.
finish that one first?
Okay, so 375, anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the size of the squash and how ripe the squash was. So at 30 minutes, put on a pot holder, the one with a hand, and go in and give it a little squeeze. If he's soft, he's done.
Done.
Okay, then you're going to take them out, let them cool a little bit because they're really hot. Then you're going to take a fork, hold it, and you're just going to scrape it all off, and it's going to look just like spaghetti.
So what do you do differently?
All right, I cut it in half, same as you, lengthwise. I take out the seeds.
Yep,
Then I get a big fork, like a barbecue fork,
yep,
and I just poke a bunch of holes in it.
okay.
I pour in a little bit of olive oil, brush it on, and I cook it face up and roast it.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good.
Interesting.
mine.
You steam yours.
Oh, well, I was
Wow.
home once, and I had my husband cut it in half for me, but he wasn't home, and I could not get it.
It's
through
a
the
very
roast.
hard squash to
That's
cut.
what I was gonna ask.
Well,
Is there a
So-
trick to cutting it?
One of the
Well-
things that I do is on this, the part that has the stem on it,
Yeah, cut
I
that.
will cut that straight. So then I have leverage, so it's not this big round thing. And then I'll put it on my cutting board and I'll slice it down that way. If you use a bread knife, the one that has the little serrated, or an electric knife. I don't know if anyone still has electric knives. I do. So when it's been really hard and I haven't had him home, I've used an electric
Oh,
knife.
I never think of doing that when you have like a squash.
Yeah, if you can't,
I never think of that,
keeping
like
electric
apron
knives are
squash.
like $9.
What I didn't get to finish was that instead of cutting it, I just put it in the oven
Oh,
on whole.
and?
It was wonderful.
Oh, it
I
was,
just
okay.
have to let it cool. I cut it, and it's much easier to cut once it's cooked.
Did you poke holes or anything in it? You're
Like
not
a
worried
potato,
about it
like a
No,
baked
exploding?
some
potato.
of them burst.
How long did
Yeah.
you cook it for?
Probably closer to an hour. And
Okay,
I try
was
to
it a
buy the
big
bigger.
one?
I try to get the bigger ones. I never got one that big. But and I've also found that if I buy multiple small ones, I cook them all together,
Yeah.
whole. Then they sit in the fridge, and only the ones that I open I
Oh,
use
wow.
quickly, and then
Oh.
they're still fresh.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
How long, what temperature?
Oh, I'd say 350.
350, 375.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as soon as it has a little play to it, that's when it's done. Spaghetti squash is great though, because you really can do almost anything with it. You can put spaghetti sauce on it and meatballs, and no one's gonna know the difference.
Really?
And Louise, I know you're into gardening. Save those seeds, because if you like to garden, you can dry them and then grow them, and they vine like crazy, and they're easy to grow, and then you've got your own.
Okay.
Yeah.
This right here is the best going. If you're looking at pizza like commercially that you buy, I don't know what you do, but the homemade gluten-free pizza you make is,
Yeah, again, I don't use a sauce. That's when I use those diced tomatoes again. I drain all the, okay, there. I drain all the liquid out of them. So instead of having, I use them like this is my sauce. I'm not really a big sauce person. So I'll drain all the liquid. You can hear there's a lot of liquid in here. I'll drain the liquid. That's the base for my pizza crust. I don't make my own pizza crust. This is the one thing I won't make because I don't like making bread. Gluten-free bread is really hard to make and time consuming, and so is pizza crust. So this is a great product. They have it at the grocery store. They have it at the Kittery Health Food Store. They have
What's
it
the
at
brand
Fresh
name on
Market.
that?
It's just gluten-free pantry.
Okay.
It's out of Canada.
Thank
The Canadians make really good gluten-free products for some reason. So this is a great product. You can make French bread out of this and pizza. The pizza crust, if you use this, you'll get two 13x9 pizza cookie sheet sizes, 2 of them. So that's enough to feed, 6 people if you wanted to do like a pizza and salad. I also am a big fan of using real mozzarella instead of the shredded stuff that comes from like Kraft. If you use the real stuff, it's better for you. It's whole. It's not full of preservatives. It does have a shelf life.
Is that what the white is?
White is, yep. So the big mozzarella balls. You can get them at, usually most grocery stores now carry them. But I'd recommend if you're gonna invest in something like that and you wanna have a really good product, getting them at a place like Fresh Market or Golden Harvest, so you know that they're really fresh and they're not just prepackaged and, wherever. So I like to get the fresh stuff. Jeff and I like to buy local as much as possible. I've actually resorted back to the way like my grandmother shopped, is I actually grocery shop like every single day. I go to the meat market every day and buy fresh. I go to the vegetable market and I only buy what's in season. So if I'm in a place like Golden Harvest, and one of the wonderful things about shopping there is they do tell you where all the fruits and vegetables are from. So I like to try to stay with New England products. So this time of year, we're getting really heavily back into the root vegetables because it's, you know, this is what's up for them right now.
Is that a yeast spread?
This one I believe does have yeast in it. Yes.
And yeast
So-
can be a problem for some people.
No, but I'm thinking it's just like a dough that rises?
Yeah.
Yep.
How long does it take for that to rise?
You know, it's just
Yeah.
normal. It's like an hour,
An
you know,
hour?
warm.
Oh,
You
okay.
put a little towel over it and keep it in the
All
kitchen,
right.
nice and warm area. So that's what pizza looks like when it's done. The one on the right is the one that Jeff and I eat. My kids still like the prepackaged cheese, so. But that's what they look like when they're done. I mean, and it's a great meal. I use fresh basil on it. You know, fresh whenever you can. This is probably one of my favorite dishes to make. It is the